Right, hello guys. So we're back in the engine room once again. Started Jamie's new engine build. So it's K20 block, sleeved, Rami racing sleeve, shall I say. It's been machined for the new pistons. So it's been to a machine shop, had all the work done. I've had the cylinder head done, we had the crank done. So I'd like to give a little shout out for crank and the cylinder head work to Sam at Connaught Racing. I'm sure we'll touch base with that with more of that on Jamie's channel and video when he's speaking about it. So if you want to learn more, go see him. Getting into the nitty gritty. So once it's come back from the machine shop, got to clean it all and do a load of measuring basically. So you want to have a look over it. That's what it looks like with the sleeves in. So the sleeves is basically this part here. The block is machined from here to put these sleeves in. So that makes it a closed deck at the top. Sleeves are stronger, these particular sleeves are stronger than the standard sleeves, shall I say, because the standard sleeves can move and crack and do other various things, etc., which I shan't get into too much detail. The other benefit is with these, it has got a groove, O-ring groove machined into the sleeve, so this block will be O-ringed, as they call it, O-ringed. That's where you'll be running a copper wire to bite into the head gasket to stop basically losing the seal. Say if you have a slight lift of head, etc. Quite a common thing on high horsepower builds, so that'd be quite cool. Cleaned meticulously, because when they come back they're normally filthy from all the machine work, as you can imagine. There's metal filings, etc. everywhere, so you want to get all inside the galleries, water jackets, just general, give a good clean. Probably spend a good solid more on it, jet washing it, etc., and going through the particular stages. Once you've done that, or once we've done that, shall I say, you can take your new piston. So, i.e., I've come along here and I've labelled these 1 to 4, and then once I've done that, everything that is machined or like the ring gap, shall I say, once it's done on that bore, it belongs to that bore. You don't mix and match them. So this particular piston here, you measure this, and we set this up with a dial bore gauge and double check that the piston to ball clearance is correct. So we've done that, that's happy. We're happy with what's been done there at the machine shop, so we can carry on going further forward. And then it's on to normal sort of measuring and checking, etc. So inside, we've got to check for journals of a crank, which was checked at the machine shop and balanced, but just as a double safety standard, we double check the journals ourselves, just as a measure, as a crude measurement, but just make sure. From there on, start measuring up your main bearings, big end bearings, rods to pin clearance, piston to wool, and then once you're working from there and you're happy with that, I then do your ring gaps and settle the rings to the bores. So I've just finished doing the ring gaps, and now will be time to start assembling the bottom end. So that'd be putting a crank in, sealing up the ladder, and start assembling the rods and pistons and drop them in. So that's what we're up to at the moment. I would imagine by the next time there's an update or next scene, depending on how this video's filmed, I would imagine. I will be getting ready. This will probably be assembled as a short block, and I will either have or be getting ready to put the cylinder head on and building up from there. Thankfully the cylinder head is all lovely and looking nice and been ready to go. All I've got to do is give it a bit of a clean, but it's got all Supertech valve train in it. It's from Turkey as far as I know, max flow, and got the exhaust port, no, let me get that right, the inlet port, sorry, all CNC'd, like a golf ball effect, quite cool. Something we'll go into a bit more detail at some point, I'm sure. And then everything else has been done by Sam at Connaught Racing, and yeah, he's done a fantastic job. A lot of stuff going on inside, which I'm sure we can get into more detail when it comes to it. But that's about it for now. So those that are new to the channel or new to Jamie's car, I know some of you won't be, but some of you will be, or may not understand from our side of things. The reason for the engine rebuild itself, or the new start, is purely just because the envelope's been pushed. The old engine was basically what you'd kind of refer to as a bit of a drop-in forged package, piston and rod, quite basic headwork. And originally it was only based for around about 600 odd horsepower, really. It had a CSS done to it, which is where a little block brace is put in with the stock sleeves. And that is about as far as we were aiming for it. And then, yeah, as it goes on, Jamie, customer, he wanted to push it and push it and push it. And in the end it failed. But we were at 2.5 bar boost on something that was, you know, built for the idea of 600 horsepower, but we were just above 900, so we did really push it. And to be fair, the thing that failed in the end was the valves, which were nothing special. They were just, from memory, skunk 2 valves. So this time we've gone proper. So we have got the bottom end pretty much built up in terms of rods and pistons. Well, I say pretty much they are. The rods and pistons are in there, and the crank is. All the clearances have been checked for, i.e. piston to wheel. I've adjusted the rings to suit for the need of this application. And I've checked the main bearings, the big end bearings, etc. thrust. So that is now the bottom end built up. So those rods and pistons are in there for good now. I'll give you a little spin over, give you a little show. Just there. So that's them in. As you can see, also got the copper rings in as well. So the O-rings, copper rings, whatever you want to call them. That's what they are. They're in there anyway. This is a case of making sure that you put them in nicely, getting the ends flat when you cut them, and file them to suit if needs be, and getting as tight as fit as you can. You don't want any gaps. So that's them in there. The next step that I'm up to at the moment is getting our sump to work, because we can no longer run a normal K20 alley sump like we were before, and like most people would, because we are running a modified S2000 pump. This has been ported and modified to suit, so it does fit, and it's basically necessary for the stage of build we're going for next, basically. But to run that pump, you also need to run a K24 sump. So behind you, you've got a tin sump, which you would normally find on a K24. That one's got a baffle in it, but the baffle didn't fit because that's designed for a normal K20A2 pump. So now I'm having to modify the baffle to suit the S2000 pump. So that's what I'm up to at the moment. But apart from that, we are getting along quite well. As you can see, the engine, gearbox, it's all together. So since you last seen it, so I was outside of here, I believe you would have seen it as a bare block last time. Starting to get built up, maybe with some pistons, rods and etc. So yeah, there's a big jump from now, but we are having to get on it. It's built up now, cylinder head's on, it's all timed up. O-rings have been fitted, head gasket's been sourced. I had to make sure that it was the correct diameter in terms of bore for the oversized bores now that we're running. What else have we got going on? All the upgraded timing gear is on, drag cartel stuff. S2000 oil pump is ported, K24 pan to support the pump. The gearbox has now just come back from Quaif / Momentum. That was having some inspection work done to it whilst the car was down, so now that's back and given a good bit of health, and that's now back on. So we're now in a position where it's about time to put it in the car. So I'm going to get the car in next and get the wheels off it, get the front subframe out. I've got a tiny bit of work to do on the car before I put the engine in. Whilst it's out, it'll be easier to run my extra wires for my 4 injectors that I'm now running as additional, shall I say. So rather than 4, I'm going to be running 8 injectors, so 4 primary, 4 secondary. So it's easy to wire them up at that time. For the whole morning so far, there's some people will know and they're going to laugh at me for this, and some people won't know, so I'm just going to let people know. If you decide to fit a great big inlet manifold like what we've got, is we've got a Gatto. So the main reason behind that was for the power and also dual injector per cylinder. But watch out for, you're going to have to relocate your alternator, because normally the alternator sits here, and then you've got a tension on top which will bolt to this piece, like so. You've got to chop that off because the inlet manifold hits it. Rework the PCV because it all gets very intrusive, and it's taken me about an hour and a bit just to muck around trying to sand all that down or cut it and finish it so it looks half decent. And then yeah, got a relocation kit on order, so it'll relocate the alternator from here down to here and have a new tensioner. So something to watch out for, because I built it up and meant to go off with the inlet manifold, and well, yeah. So that's about where we're at the moment. So we're trying to fly through it, but also being careful as we go along, make sure we don't miss anything. But we've got a bit of a timeline, so we shall see how things go. Hello. I've been interrupted by the looks of things.
Yeah.
Okay, update. Let's get this last boot on. So at the moment I'm just doing a bit of wiring. Getting that on there. Right. As you can see, engine's in the car. Gearbox, engine, etc, etc. It's got its mounts on. The selector and reverse lockout is hooked up. The heater matrix liners is hooked up, and most of the wiring is laid out and connected back home where it should be. Most of this is pretty plug and play, and there's not too much that's changed in terms of like turbo kit stuff this time. One of the biggest things is that the inlet manifold we've changed. So I've had to sort of rejig some of the wiring around. I've also had to add in extra wiring for the secondary injectors, so that's what I'm busy doing now. And trying to get to a point where I can get the inlet mocked up properly so I can see what's going on with my charge pipe, because I'm going to have to adapt them as well. So that's what's going on at the moment. Apart from that, not a lot's changed, apart from when you've seen it on the floor as an engine and box. It's just now in the car, and that's basically what we're going through. Getting it all built back together, drive shafts in, subframe in, etc. I've got some new engine mounts on the way, but they're not going to turn up until I think like the last minute before we need them. So for now, I've kept the old ones in until we need them, because they're not too bad a change. And yeah, we're going about it like that for now. So, engine's in, as we all know. It's been running. Basically, we skipped ahead a bit, and I can't remember where we left off. But the engine's in, it's running. I've done my running. We've done a lot of stuff. We managed to get there on time. Behind me, we've got the beautiful man Remain. He's waving. Hopefully today's going to be a good day. Just got on Dyno. He's just done his little bit of magic behind the keyboard. So like preliminary setup. So now we're going to run it on petrol to wastegate. We're only going to wastegate on petrol and to see how things are, make sure they're happy, smooth things off, and then we can move over to ethanol and see what we can make from it. Right, so what you're seeing there is a couple of pulls, wastegate pressure, wastegate shooter, so no boost controlling it. This does boost creep a little bit, so I think it's going to be around about probably like 1.5 bar, somewhere around about that. It's set up on petrol where it can be used if needs be, but it's going to live most of its racing life on ethanol. Getting the fueling right to start with before you go on ethanol, and getting a primary and secondary injector set up as it's going through the pool and knowing when to do a split, etc. I would imagine. Also, it being a new engine and being sleeved, it's got a reset. We'll go through and set up all the knock thresholds again because it's a new engine, so it's going to sound different. So yeah, it's basically a full retune from now. But yeah, it ain't bad considering I believe that's on wastegate and we're doing 600 horsepower.
So we've got a tiny bit of a miss. I wasn't sure on the previous run at 2.2 bar, so I went straight to 2.5 just to confirm, and it was very obvious it was like a spark blowout. So we're just taking the spark plug out, checking them. The race plug one before we just used like the normal NGK 9s, when now the 10 race. So we're gonna see if we can gap them. Normally you don't really need to, but clearly that's an issue here. And if it doesn't work, we're gonna change the coil, and if it still doesn't work, we're gonna go back to the old spark plugs that we know used to work.
Right, update. So we had a bit of an issue with spark blowing out when it started really turning the boost up. We were racing some competition racing plugs, which should have done the job. But the gap were a bit large, so we went to go gap them down, and then found that one of the plugs had a bit of damage on the end, not from detonation or knock. I think one of the straps, the end of the strap, sorry, just got caught maybe either on install, or I may have missed it when I put it in. A bit unlike me, to be honest, but one of them, nothing was damaged, luckily, so that's all good. At the moment, we're tapped out on the turbo. We made as much as we can, and as you can see on the dyno over there, we're 880 wheel, which is 1000 crank. So intake temps are getting a bit hot at the moment, but we are in this sort of setup where the fans are in the front. You know, you're not getting the actual airflow coming around as if you were going down the road. So we're just mucking around the fans now to see if we can just make sure everything's alright at a colder temp, and it might pick up a little bit more power. Okay, right, car's back on the trailer. It's been a successful day. Both Romain and I are very happy. Jamie is as well. Unfortunately Jamie can be here today because he's at a secret location, but that'll soon be revealed. But he's been on the sidelines keeping up to date, as I've been telling him. He's over the moon, so we ended end of the day on 909 wheel horsepower, or power to the hubs, which equates to just over 1000 horsepower. So yeah, it's a big success that is, especially as well on a 3584. It's very impressive. So hopefully it will do well for its race that's got coming up, and I'm sure this won't be the last. We'll see with a dyno. I know Jamie wants to push it further in the future, but it will require a new turbo kit, etc., because we are now tapped out. But keep an eye on it, and yeah, it should be quite fun.